And we're live. Bashing the
We're
Brain.
live.
1036. There's 1039.
1036 The Brain, WBRN. Live on a Tuesday. I leave tomorrow for Real American Freestyle. 24 hours. First, this is fight week. Fight week for RAF, the first ever RAF.
Fight week. So they got on Fox and Friends again this weekend. That was good. Dake and Yanni. A lot of publicity. The expectations are high. I had a question about somebody was asking if the rules are going to be public beforehand, like a complete rule overset or anything.
Yeah. I think there's actually a bunch of, well, I don't know. You know, it's a little hectic, but the rules will be public. You know, for our purposes here. It's last point scored. There's the only changes are instead of three, it's 2-2-2. There's 3 periods. Still, all the rules are the same except for last point scored. There is a rule. We did change the rule for injury timeouts. Like you get a free one, and then you get a cautioned one. Third time, you don't go back to the middle. Third, you're done. Disqualified. Get out of here.
I like that. Much needed.
But they're the only two. The only 2 rules. We talked about changing grounding, but like Ben really wants to do that, and I kind of want to do it too, but I don't know. It's a little too early. It's a little too early. We didn't really test it out. There's a couple things we'd like to do that we haven't tested yet, but we will. And you know, it's tricky because you want to do new things from where I sit, right? I shouldn't speak for RAF, but you want to try new things, but how much do you deviate from standard UWW rules because people know them, people want them? Like if you change grounding, like drastically change it, like even if it's superior, even if it's a superior product, do wrestlers around the world want to practice a discipline that's so foreign from what their goals are, right? Now, I mean, if RAF becomes UFC, then that's the goal, right? That's the prevailing goal for everybody. But right now, I'm saying that's my purview. You got to be delicate. You got to think those things through.
Yeah. Agreed.
Hey, you want to do Gable Game?
Hey, you know what? Why don't we do Gable Game? I got a Gable Game in like 3 yesterday. I rarely do it when we don't do it on the show, but I think maybe the GOAT follower.
Dude,
what?
I've been talking to you. I've been talking to Bash the last couple of days. He's like, man, I am so backed up with work. I'm so backed up at work. You had enough time to
just
did Gable Game.
On a call. You know how easy it is when you're on a conference call and they're 3 times as long as they need to be, and you're sitting there waiting for someone to just get done. All right, let me go do a Gable Game.
All right, let's do Gable Game. Who we starting with?
Listen to this, though. Yesterday, so I think it was either yesterday or the day before. I can't remember. Maybe it was the GOAT follower. Somebody, like, broke their streak. I think it was him. So I said, this has got to be a tricky one. So I
broke their streak like he didn't even get it at all?
Correct.
How can he not get it?
Because I can't remember who it was, but long story short, I deviated. I said, you know what? As the Gable Game, as I pulled it up, I saw Chris Foca liked a Baschamania post, literally at the same time. So I said, okay, I'm going to start with Chris Foca. Turns out it was an 84-pounder from the Ivy League. So I got those 2 right out of the gate. So then I just...
But wait, so how can you not get it, though? You said somebody broke their streak. How can you lose? Do you only get 5 guesses or something?
You only get 8 guesses total. It was a non-qualifier from the Ivy League at 184. Even with PEBs, it wasn't that easy. But to get to I got lucky starting with Foca. But who do you want to start with today?
Just hold on. Non-qualifier at 84 last year. A non-qualifier?
Or a non-placer, sorry. A non-placer.
Yeah, so...
They put NQ in there, so I always just say...
Who was it?
I honestly don't even remember. I looked at PEBs. I looked at the Ivy League tournament.
On one hand, Ivy League national qualifiers should be a little bit easier. Was it Caden Rogers? No, he is the EIWA. Caden Cole Mulhauser.
It was one of them. I don't remember who it was. All right, who do you want to pick for today?
Well, who did we use last time? We're starting with Meyer from now on, right?
Oh, are we? I like starting with the Big Ten because they have the most guys.
Okay, but it's not Kasich. He's too high.
All right, what do you? Let's start on Van Ness.
He's a 49. What?
All right, I put Van Ness in.
Okay, he's third. They were both third.
Everything was wrong. Not a junior, lower than junior, so freshman or sophomore. Not in the Big Ten. Higher than 49, lower win percentage than 89, lower place than third. So go with like an 84 Big 12 sophomore.
Well, my thing isn't accepting Shane.
Well, you know SHYNE.
I did. Oh, I redid it. Okay, he's younger than a junior. He's higher.
So let's split the difference. Let's do a freshman 84, sophomore 84.
Hey, when it says third and down, does that indicate anything? Or
no, we're just not even close.
Gray. Okay, so it's terrible. So that was a terrible pick.
Terrible.
By you. Okay, go. But it's not Big Ten, right?
So not Big Ten.
Go 84 or 74 Big 12.
Are you telling me you want me to pick somebody?
Yeah, who was Okie State 74 last year?
Okie State's 74 last year was Amin, right? But it's got to be younger than him. It can't be Amin.
Just go. Let's just go Cam Amin, just for shits and giggles.
It's not. It's got to be a freshman or a sophomore.
Oh. Okay. Upper weight freshman, sophomore qualifier. God, there wasn't many of them. Just go with Josh Barr. I'm going Josh Barr.
It's not Big Ten. It's not Big Ten.
God.
See why I start with Big
I'm
Ten?
betting 1,000 today. I'm not even doing well with logic. All right. Pick somebody.
I'm looking at PEBs right now.
You're looking at PEBs.
Everybody I keep looking at looks like it was. Give me an 84 freshman or sophomore. All these all look like seniors as I'm going through the list.
Micadelli. It's not Big Ten.
What is Big Ten?
This is terrible.
Terrible.
This is god awful.
This is bad radio.
This is bad radio.
I'll tell you who we're gonna do. I'm gonna do.
Let's do Stephen Little. We're doing Stephen Little.
Stephen Little. Okay, it is a sophomore. It is a 97 pounder. It is not in the Pac-12. So we need a 97 sophomore outside of the Big Ten Pac-12.
We gotta use a Big 12 one.
So we need a Big 12 sophomore, 97 pounder.
Big 12 sophomore. It doesn't necessarily have to be Big 12. I wonder if Carson Floyd is.
How about let's try Joey Novak.
Yeah, do that.
Okay, not Joey Novak, but it is a big Big 12, 197-pound sophomore.
Yeah, Novak placed. So it's easy then.
Yeah,
Big 12, 97. It's Ian Bush.
Ian Bush?
Yeah.
Is that your final answer? Let's give
Yeah.
it a shot. Winner, Ian Bush. That was a painful one. That was a painful one.
Well, you know what? It wasn't painful because it was painful. It was painful because my brain isn't functioning right now. Like, I couldn't, how many times did you have to tell me it was not Big Ten?
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure we used guys that was...
And also we used PEBs, actually, so that would have been tough, just blank.
Yes. All right, so where do you want to start? Do you want to start
Now,
with...
do most Gable Game practitioners use PEBs? Do they have brackets in front of them, or they're just going straight off memory?
What I know, most people use PEBs. Most people.
Well,
How the hell do you think of Ian Bush out of just a random? Oh yeah, Ian Bush.
because
use
I mean,
PEBs.
now I used PEBs because we're I try not to, but when we have a long one, I resort to them. But if you were doing it solely to test your knowledge and not to speed things along for a podcast, you can remember who qualified. You can remember the results from. You can remember who placed what at Big Tens. It's hard to do so for every conference, but that's a challenge.
Yeah.
But if you know, like,
Everybody I know use PEBs.
well, you don't want to be there all day, but like, you know it because it's a sophomore from what conference, and then you use your brain and you say,
Well, that's after you get 6 or 7 or 5, whatever guesses, then you narrow it down finally. But initially, you're like, okay, is it the Big 10? Is it the Big 12? Is it...
well, listen, you're starting with 33 guys.
No,
It's
you're
not
starting
that
with... You're starting with 330 because you don't know the weight.
Yeah, true.
All right, do you want to talk a little Real American? Do you want to talk... Let's talk Rademacher because that is the title in the thumbnail, and primarily because looking at the show notes, it was just the most interesting tidbit. Yeah, I'm looking through the tidbits, and it's like, Willie's got a note in here. I was watching Portland State versus Tarleton State football. That ain't a note. That's just a diary entry.
No, that's important.
All right, we'll get there. But we were going to talk about this in the last show and ran out of time because we had an awesome segment going back and forth about Pico versus Duke. But it's funny the timing of this because I had some people that were like, man, Rademacher is really good. Do you think he is going to try to get, like, poached? And at the same time I was talking to you about it, you're like, it's already happening that they're trying.
Yeah, well, I thought there was a little bit. I don't know. I was told that they already started coming after Rademacher, and I thought maybe they were calling him doing. What I was told was that people at Junior Worlds were acting funny and buddying up to him. Now, that could be the Oregon State coaches being a little overprotective or worrying about it, or it could be something. I don't know. I wrote it down because I absolutely hate this culture of poaching, and it's gotten so like coaches make excuses for themselves. Well, everybody's doing it, so you got you want to win, you kind of got to try to do that. No, you don't. You can have some character. You can have some integrity. All right.
Yeah, and Stewie Griffin in the chat said if guys weren't poaching after he got bronze medal, fair market value, I can't imagine him going anywhere now. Well, I think there's a difference. Number one, winning one world title one world medal versus two. I think you repeat world level success, and I think there's not many coaches in the country that I'm sure wouldn't be interested in having him on their team. Now, when it comes to who needs a 197 pounder, and obviously it's a lot harder to poach in the dead of August than it is, not that there's a lot of rules with it, but
you know my take on it. I think there's a lack of class, a lack of character, lack of integrity, a lack of what all the coaches preach, accountability and this and that, and putting the hard work. If you're a coach that's poaching, you're circumventing all the hard work, and you're buying it off the shelf. You're
yeah.
right. So I hate that. But in this particular case, I don't know that it's really going on. I know one, there was a narrative online saying, I bet you Rademacher's trying to get poached. I bet you he's trying to, I bet you people are trying to poach him. And number two, I did hear from Oregon State coaches like, bro, they're already coming after Rademacher. And, I don't know. I honestly don't know to what extent. It's funny, I think just like a Stephen Buchanan who was a sort of under the radar prospect, and he went from school to school. Rademacher, see, you gotta, especially this like schools that aren't Penn State, Oklahoma State, Iowa, even schools like Nebraska, right? You have to really take pride in identifying the talent, identifying the right talent, identifying the right character, discounting the front runners, the guys that are really good in high school, but they don't have the right temperament or they're already peaked. You have to be a really good evaluator of talent. And then you have to recruit like hell. And then you have to land the kid. And then you have to develop the kid and make sure everything's going right in his life and his academics and his dietary and his lifting. And then hope that seed sprouts and works out. And you have a good asset. You have to hope all that happens. And now you have to hope that it's not poached. Like, Oregon State identified Rademacher. They gave him a spot. They gave him opportunities. They fostered his growth. They developed him. And for somebody to come along and poach, and I am not saying that is people are over the top after him. I don't know to what extent. I just know it's shitty. And I think most American wrestling fans, like 5 years ago, would have said it's grimy. I think less say it's grimy now because the entire game of college athletics has gotten grimy. And there's actually a football article, and there's a football case that's going on right now but it doesn't inspire confidence in me. Like, I'm not optimistic about it. I want poaching, and I want the rule bending to be stopped. But I don't know if it's going to be policed. Even if these cases go the way I want it to go, I don't know if it's going to really be policed. Like, there was a safety or corner for Wisconsin. He got offers from Miami, and then he went, but he unenrolled in school. It's really weird, but it's going through the court system. Wisconsin is really putting the effort into resolving this legally, mostly so that it stops a precedent. It sets a precedent to stop this behavior, but who knows if it'll be policed.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I get the transfer portal, but I'm with you on the poaching. Hopefully these guys don't get poached. Hopefully Rademacher stays at Oregon State.
I think I think he will. I mean, he's an Oregon boy. I think he probably, yeah. I think he's probably knows what he has in the program and has developed those relationships and knows what he has in Pendleton. So
Yeah. All right, a couple of random tidbits, Willie, and then we'll dive into Real American this weekend. Small little just international nugget. We sent 6 guys over to Junior Pan Ams, and 5 of the 6 took gold. Not surprised. The only one who didn't, Charlie Farmer, dropped the finals match to Cuba, I believe. Everyone else, great
Cuba's
performance.
alive, huh? Yeah,
Cuba's
that's
alive.
one thing. I'm thankful. I'm really thankful to be involved with RAF. It's. I mean, on one hand, it's fun. On another hand, it's frustrating and exhausting. But um, it doesn't. It takes up a lot of time, and I'm not on top of the juniors. I'm not. I wasn't on top of Pan. I'm not on top of international the way I should be.
Well, we did have a falling off at the Junior Worlds. That was a crazy where we had men do absolutely amazing 5th place or 5 champs first place. Then the women, you have a step back in performance. You had just 1 champ in 4th place, and then Greco with 17th place, no medals. So kind of as the week
no, I mean,
went on,
I
not so
followed.
good.
Obviously, I mean, we talked about it a lot on the show. I followed. That was another thing, doing RAF stuff like during the day and basically junior world stuff nonstop from 3 a.m. to whatever. That was a grind. But I don't get caught up when I'm specifically. I didn't know what really we did at Junior Pan Ams. Although I'm not, Junior Pan Ams is like whatever. We're gonna kill it. We're gonna kill everybody. So I don't pay that much attention. But coming up, Senior Worlds, man, I'm so far behind about entries, what the brackets could possibly look like. I don't know. I don't know nothing. I've done no research for Senior Worlds. I did, however, book my flight. Not a hotel yet, though.
Baby
Bash,
steps.
why don't you come to Senior Worlds?
When is it?
2 weeks, 3 weeks.
No, dude, the next couple of weekends I get crushed.
Stop.
We're in Florida, I think, next weekend, the following week. I don't know. Yeah, that ain't happening.
Dude,
That ain't
Zagreb,
happening.
nice.
I know. I've heard. So I've heard. All right, so that's a little just junior Pan Am cleanup. A couple of Iowa nuggets. Number 1, Jordan Williams officially admitted to Iowa. He's going 157. So,
He's going 157?
That's what it sounds like.
Who said that?
That's what I've heard.
Really?
Sources say allegedly 157.
I knew it was a possibility. I mean, hell, he did wrestle 57 for a moment. And I thought that might be a plus. I'm not surprised that Jordan Williams would go 57. I just didn't think the lineup construction. Maybe
It sounds like there's going to be some let the best guy win and make the team, approach to it.
well, they got some bodies, right? If Jordan Williams is the best 57 guy there, I mean, I am really interested in Ryder Block. Like,
Yeah, you've been hiding him for a while.
I don't know. I did make a joke about him last year though, but his mom was not too happy with me. But I was just using that as an example. Like Flo had him ranked. He was like 1-4. I don't know. But Ryder Block, I believe, has all the talent. If he emerges, I think he was sucked too far down because they had Franek, they had a couple other guys. But if he emerges as a really strong, viable 49 or 57, and they could get him and Jordan in the lineup some way, somehow. They also have Estrada. They also have both Voinoviches.
Yeah, and also it is still August, and it sounds like that might just be hey, 157 might be ideal. Anything can happen. We could still see Jordan down at 149. That wouldn't surprise me at all. It just seems like more so than not the game plan might be 57. I've heard it from a few different people, so who knows, but...
You see the chat?
No.
Somebody said, "Hey guys, I missed the beginning. Did I miss news on Rademacher?" And somebody said, "Yeah, he just committed to Iowa."
Okay, so Jordan Williams officially part of Iowa. Another nugget that we both kind of had in the show notes, just differently. Flo announced that who's number one is going to Iowa this year. I don't think we talked about this on the last show. We talked about it a couple times offline that this definitely felt like, Bo Bassett's obviously going to be there. Sounds like this might have came to fruition when he was still committed to Iowa.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of weird. I mean, if you did all the math and said, I wonder why it's at Iowa this year, and with the Bo Bassett being his senior year, it maps that they would have orchestrated this early, right? But it's been a long time. And that was a long time ago. I don't know if Flo would be in – I don't know if anybody – not Flo, but I don't know if anybody would be in negotiations for who's number one and locking down a venue in April.
No, but you figure even early June. I mean, Bo Bassett decommitted late June. So, I mean, it's not – I think it was like with a week to go in June. So I don't think it was –
I mean, that's what happened with us at RAF. And because a lot of people are saying, why is it at Cleveland State? Why is it at Cleveland State? Well, because in February, March, April, they were trying to do anything they could to save Cleveland State. And so they negotiated the contract for Real American Freestyle. Well, Cleveland State, the situation is not the same anymore. That certainly could be why it's in Iowa. I mean, it could be in Iowa just because Iowa's an awesome wrestling town.
100%.
But it does make you chuckle, like.
Well, in the first match they announced is Bo Bassett, Jordan Rainey.
Right? It's going to be in Iowa. And then the first matchup we announced is Bo and Jordan Rainey, which is like, it's like almost twisting the knife. Or like pulling the rug out. Hey, Iowa, you have number one. Oh, also, it's two guys that were probably highest on your wish list in the last decade since Spencer Lee. They're both going to be on the card. Oh, they're both wrestling each other. Oh, they both didn't come to Iowa. It's like, gut punch kind of. But it is a fantastic matchup. The pace out of control, right?
What do you think's the best number one matchup to make for who's number one this year?
Next topic: Jaden James, Melvin Miller.
Yeah.
But that's another kick. That's another thing I find funny about Flo too. About who's number one, and it's been this way for like 5 years. It's like every year, it's the most anticipated match in who's number one history. Every single year, it's like stop. But it is a great matchup. But Melvin and Jaden James would be the matchup to make. And in fact, when the next iteration of rankings come out, I'm moving Jaden James up to 165, and I have to have Melvin number one, and Jaden has to be number two, because I don't think that Jaden's going to sticker anywhere around 57. He made 54 for in Athens for Cadet Worlds, where he won the title. But I think that was a pull for him. And I don't, when I say a pull, it's a different kind of pull when you're talking about Jaden James and the way they approach things. Like it's not a giant pull and he was cutting his leg off to make it. It's that they just don't believe in staying down. A lot of these kids, you see them they stay the same weight for the whole year. I don't think their camp does it that way. And I think he's losing weight. He's losing weight to make 54. I don't think they're going to spend the year where he's making 57 all year long. He's going to let him wrestle 50, 65, and that's what he's going to wrestle. And so that's where he'd be ranked. And I have to have Melvin over Jaden James because it goes back to last year's cadet trials where Melvin won the bracket and Jaden was third. They didn't hit head to head. And that is not to say that who would win now. That's just to say that's the rankings process. But I do think it's the number one match to make this year.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll start rolling out more and more matchup announcements soon. Okay, what else you got, William?
Who's leading the Bassett sweepstakes? Don't know.
I've not heard a heck of a lot on Bo Bassett's current recruiting. I was actually going to reach out to him and ask him how it's going, but I have not heard a lot. I've heard teams were kind of, up and down. Like 1 minute that everybody's interested, the 1 minute there's, a little bit of, there's a lot there, and then like back and forth. But I haven't heard anybody necessarily leading it or.
Yeah, I my gut is that my impression is that it was sort of a long drawn out process the first go around, and a long drawn out process the first go around, and while teams would certainly like to have him, of course they'd like to have Bo. Of course they'd like to have his talent. They don't want to invest the time, resources, energy, hope if it's just a charade, like if they have no shot.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's the vibe that I get. Yeah.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. What else does the chat got? And then we can look at the Real American card this weekend. Doug Jacobs said, I thought you guys said Penn State for sure back when he decommitted. I've gone back and forth. 1 minute, I think it could very well be Penn State. The next minute, I don't think it's going to be Penn State. Literally just continue to go back and forth. It felt like when Bo initially decommitted, it could have been Penn State, definitely.
I forget what I said. As soon as Bo decommitted, everybody said, "Well, where's he gonna go?" And honestly, your guess is as good as mine. Who knows? You can make an educated guess 5 minutes after he decommits, but who knows? Things change. Before we get to RAF card, a couple things on the sort of NIL front. But I think we have Senior Worlds coming up. We passed Junior Worlds. In fact, I have a call in 2 hours with National Collegiate Duels about seeding stuff. We're not seeding today, but we're talking about seeding stuff. So we're turning our attention. We still got Senior Worlds, but we're slowly pivoting. Now it's folk style time. Now it's college time. I got Super 32 entries up and sort of pre-seeds up, and we're turning our attention to folk style. And so let's talk a little bit about NIL and updates. There is these rumblings, and certain institutions are saying, yeah, no, maybe this is what my compliance department is telling me, but there's new legislation, and it sounds like NIL collectives, the collectives, are changing in that previously it had been sort of pay for play. All right. If Alabama needed a guard and they wanted to pay him $500,000, they did it. I mean, hell, we saw Tennessee offering millions for a quarterback in different places, right? And it was publicized. It was like, yeah, this is what we're giving them. This is the offer. Well, now it's not like that. Not only does it have to go through Deloitte, any deals have to go through Deloitte Clearinghouse to be approved. Also, the collectives just can't pay it. There has to be, like, these NIL deals have to be legitimate. They have to be, you have to do work for it. Whether it's appear on a commercial or whatever it may be, it can't be this shell game and just a check, right? That's the way it sounds like this legislation is going. And that has import to wrestling, because we know at certain places that guys were getting money and maybe housing and maybe this and that without really doing anything. Now, that being said, I like it because it creates a more level playing field. And of course, I'm looking at this through a wrestling lens. I don't like when a seventh place NCAA finisher from a smaller school gets offered a king's ransom to go to a big power school that has money versus this other program that does not have money. I don't like that. Now, will it still go on to some extent? Probably. And that is to say, if any of this stuff is even policed, because how are you going to police it? If they can, does the NCAA really even want to police this? Other than, okay, here are the rules. Now, what if the rules are broken? Are they going to police us? Are they going to enforce it? I don't know. But I think for us purists, and I think there's a lot of wrestling people that think the way I do and feel the way I do about it, I think there is a shimmer of hope that we can kind of stop the insanity and the poaching and the pay for play.
It does feel like even if all these regulations can pass, all these bills, anything else, it does feel like you're still going to get under the table payments and bags of cash at doorsteps. I feel like the pay for play door has been opened, and with athletes being able to get paid, I just feel like the door has already been opened and the can of worms isn't going to be put together. Like, I do think that some of it's going to be more official and regulated, but I still think you're just going to have massive bags of cash dropped off at grandma's doorstep.
Yeah, how do you
especially in football, basketball, especially the bigger sports. Like,
how do you I mean, you can police it, but legislation. The NCAA policed it for years. If a coach bought a kid a Pepsi, if a coach gave a kid a ride home from practice, it was impermissible. If they bought him an extra slice of pizza on a recruiting trip, it was impermissible. They got infractions for it. And the NCAA really tried to control that sort of thing. And all these snowflake people that, we deserve this, we deserve that, we want this, they opened up that door. And so now is the NCAA really going to enforce these things? I hope so. Legislation is one thing, enforcement is another. So we'll see. I just like to get back to a little bit more purity. And in that same vein, you make fun of me because I put in the show notes, I was watching Portland State versus Tarleton State. So, I sit and I work on my computer and I have to have something on the background. And there was really not much on, but it was week 0 college football kickoff. And Okay, there's college football game. There was a college football game on CBS, right? Tarleton State and Portland State are on. So whatever, it's football. It's here. Let's watch it. And the game's at Portland State. Tarleton State is in Texas. And there is nobody in the crowd. There is nobody there. There's nobody at this game. And, they dress, I don't know, 90 to 100 kids. And they have these big bloated staffs where there's an offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, a tight ends coach, a running backs coach, a left guard coach, special teams coach, right? And 1,500 SIDs and 1,500 support staff. And they travel from Texas to Portland to play an FCS game in front of 0 fans. And I just can't imagine. And then later on, I'm watching Stanford and Hawaii. Now, Hawaii's crowd was great for that game. I don't know what the stadium holds. It doesn't hold that much, but the stands were full. But Stanford's just awful. I mean, awful. And Stanford's in the SEC, and they're going to be flying to NC State and North Carolina and yada, yada, yada. And my point is, what are these football teams doing? What are these schools doing? Spending all this money on football. There is no way that they're not losing boatloads of money.
Oh, and got to be losing a ton.
And my thing is, what are they chasing? What are they chasing? What are all these schools outside of about 40 chasing and pursuing? Money? You're not going to make money. I bet some dude in my fantasy league, the fantasy league I'm in with Nick Villacat. I used to work with that flow. I used to do shows with that flow. So most of them are from Texas. But I bet him that Stanford drops football in a decade. Now, you might call me crazy, but how do they do it? How do they continue to do it? And if you think I'm talking about this just to talk about it like it's a sports radio show, I'm not, because when these schools are chasing football success, they're hemorrhaging money into their programs, and they're trying to cut anything that if their wrestling program loses $500,000, that's nothing.
Right.
But if their program loses $500,000 when their football team is losing 25, and they're looking to cut field hockey and wrestling and this, and now they save $2 million cutting 4 sports, they're looking to do that. But if they give up the dumb dream of Stanford ever being something, if Tarleton State stops losing, if Tarleton State stops dumping tens of millions of dollars into football, then their wrestling program can exist and probably thrive. They're not worried about, they're worried much less about losing $200,000. And so I'm not wishing. Yes, I am. Stop lying. Stop lying. I'm not wishing for these football programs to be cut, but I kind of am, because some of these schools that have no business, they will never win. Some institutional leaders think, oh, well, if we build Tarleton State, we can start making some real money. No, you can't, because they'll never win. But if some of these people come to reality and realize it's a zero-sum game, then maybe wrestling, maybe they'll go back to Olympic sports where the student body is better off for it. They can have some degree of success, and wrestling can have more programs.
All for it. Let's get wrestling more programs.
Okay. Chat. Why isn't Flo talking about RAF? Flo gonna do Flo things. Probably mostly because they have nothing to do with it. Now, I will say they did have a couple. They had Izzy on. Yeah, they haven't been doing much, but that's.
I think it's. But I get the same questions. Like, I get people saying, why don't we talk more about Claw or CFA, whatever the other one is? Like, honestly, when somebody's doing their first card, there's only so much you can talk about from the outside. I think once the first event is in the books, I think you can talk about a lot more. You can talk about the production. You can talk about the matchups. You can talk about how it went. You can talk about the outlook. I think, every time there's...
but... Go ahead.
I think that once somebody gets a couple events under their belt, it's easier to talk to. I kind of equate it. I was talking to somebody the other day, and I said I kind of equate these new leagues popping up as like RTC cards. When RTC cards were going on, you only talked about it so much, and I think when these, like, we talk about Real American a lot because I think it has the most potential. You're also involved in it, so of course we talk about it a lot.
Let's just be real here. The matchups, and the reason we talk about, there's enough to talk about RAF. Flo could certainly be doing more on RAF. I'm not surprised if they're not. But to compare it to Claw or I don't even know what the other leagues are. I think there's a couple of them, but we've been accused of not talking about other leagues because I'm involved with RAF. I don't not talk about the other leagues because I'm involved in RAF. I don't talk about the other leagues because there ain't no meat on the bone. Who am I supposed to talk about? You want to rant and rave? I'm not talking about Claw. Like what matchups did you want me to talk about? These are, I'm sorry, but these are not NCAA. These are not superstars we're talking about. They're not elite matchups. They're wrestled in gyms in front of 30 people. So I don't get that. I feel like certain people are like, well, you're not talking about Claw because you want them to fail. No, I'm not talking about Claw because the matchups suck. That's why I'm not talking about it. I don't even really watch it. I check in. What's this? Neat. And that's not to poo-poo Claw. That's to say the matchups don't excite me. Now, on the other hand, Real American Freestyle, there's superstars on the card. And it looks like they're trending in the right direction. It looks like they're mapping out a plan for a long path. And I ran the numbers last night. Let me look at. I was helping Izzy with a little something, and here's what the numbers are. 8 Olympic appearances, 6 Olympic medals, 11 world titles, 28 world medals, 3 Hodge Trophy winners, 18 titles, 43 All-Americans, 2 of the 7 all-time 4-time champs. You got a couple ex-stars that are now UFC or MMA with Bo and Lance Palmer, Darian Caldwell, who's a Bellator champ, Jason Wolf, who's transitioning, with grappling stuff. These are big names. These are big matchups. So yeah, that's why you talk about it.
I agree. I think the Real American card, like by far and away, is the best card of any of the leagues. Or comparing it to an RTC event, like there is meat on the bone here. Like we can go through the card. I agree, it's a great card.
Let's go through the card, bud. I leave tomorrow morning. I'm pretty excited about it. Our first match is
These are in match order?
These are in match order, my friend.
All right, so let's go through the card in match order.
Nathan Tomasello against Matt Ramos is our first bout. Tomasello, obviously a 4-time All-American, 1-time champ. Probably one of the most underrated careers. Like, I think we kind of got spoiled with the rise in 4-timers. Like during or right around NATO's era, we had Kyle Dake win 4 and Yanni win 4 and Brooks and Starachi. And even beyond that, we had Nolf win 3 and Zane win 3 and Ed win 3. And so his career kind of got like overlooked and overshadowed, where at the time when he did it, he never placed worse than 3rd. I mean, that's an incredible career, right? And he'll be wrestling Matt Ramos. Has a couple world shockers, like Matt Ramos beating Spencer Lee, Wyatt Hendrickson beating Gable Stevenson, the Sarah Hildebrandt winning the Olympics. There's a lot of Darian Caldwell beating Brett Metcalf that year. There was a lot of shockers on this list. But Tomasello, Matt Ramos for the bantamweight title, 135. And, I think it's important. People want to say, well, why give the first match the belt? Why not have a couple events before you give them the belt? And that's something that we internally wrestled with ourselves. But it's a new card. These people are the pioneers of RAF, and they went with us right out of the gate. And let's set the pecking order. These guys showed up. One of them is going to be the world title holder, and if somebody else wants to come get it, they can come get it on card number 2 or card number 3, what have you. Now, the lowest weight at RAF is 135 bantamweight, which we think, I kind of came up with the weight classes. Nobody's going to want to make, the senior level guys are not going to want to make 57 kgs. Even the best in the world, they cut hard to make this weight. The rest of the weights, listen, you can decide for yourself if you're going to be a hard cutter or if you're not. I think as RAF matures and materializes as a goal, what do you want to do? I want to win a world title. I want to make a world team. I want to win a world medal. I want to win a world title. I want to win an Olympic title. I want to hold the RAF belt. I think in the beginning, because there's been so many RTC cards and one-off stuff and exhibition duels and pop-up leagues, I think initially people are, wrestlers go, well, I ain't making that weight. I'm moving up a weight. Well, that'll get cold. I think that's going to get cold out, because what they're going to do is be like, oh, if I want to be competitive at this, RAF has real legit dudes who are making real legit weights. And if I want to be competitive, if I want to stay on the card, wrestle for titles, I have to be at my competitive weight, and so I'm not wrestling 160. I'm not wrestling 165 where I walk around at. I'm wrestling 55 and such. So, but to start off, 35 is our lowest weight. Our second match is Yanni Bajrang. I don't think I need to sell that one too much. Yanni, well, they've wrestled twice before. Yanni won both, but it's good for. This is a great matchup for a multitude of reasons, in my opinion. Yanni just coming after a devastating loss. You can see that Yanni still got it because he had giant leads over PJ Duke. And he's getting right back on the saddle. And I'm glad that Yanni is going right back in. And I told him, I said, Yanni, when we're discussing, Yanni, I'd like you to wrestle on RAF. I think, okay, let me think about it. I said, Yanni, I think it'd be good for you. Just get right back on the horse. Forget what just happened. He's like, yeah, you're right. Yep. And so I think it's good for him. I think it's good for the sport. And he's wrestling Bajrang, who
we haven't seen in a while.
Out of the scene for, out of the public eye for a little bit, or at least for international wrestling. But has a huge following in India and a world finalist, an Olympic bronze. A great matchup. A guy that everybody in America really likes, really respects. It's interesting because everybody around the world, the Japanese, the Russians, the Iranians, they don't necessarily like all the winners. If you're from America, okay, he just beats you on pace. He's not that skilled. Yanni, it don't matter if Yanni wins a world title or finishes 8th. The wrestlers around the world like, Yanni's good. Yanni's really good. They appreciate his skill set and his technique and his craft. Conversely, like Americans, they don't like all the winners either. Okay, this guy, he just won by pushing. Okay, this guy from Dagestan won. But man, he was really gassed at the end and kind of just holding on for dear life. Bajrang, despite no matter if he's gold or takes 8th, Americans like watching Bajrang because his relentless pace. He has that American pace, and so it's really interesting matchup there. The only fight number 3, the only one that's not for a title, because there's 2 matchups here at lightweight at 155. So Yanni Bajrang will be for the title. The next match, which is right after Lance Palmer, Austin Gomez, will not be for the title, but I would assume the winner will get the winner of Yanni Bajrang in the future. Interesting match. Lance Palmer looks great. He's old. He's long in the tooth. This is a 4-time national, All-American, and NCAA finalist who's been not off the mat. He's been fighting for a long time. That's what he does every day. Training at Ohio State all the time.
Yeah, he's not coming off the couch for this. Like, the guy fights full time.
Yeah.
He's been fighting for, he's in fight shape for a long time now.
Yeah, so it's a matchup. If you're talking about interesting stuff and getting guys back on the mat, look, this card has a lot of guys back on the mat. Lance Palmer, Darian Caldwell, Bo Nickel, Jason Nolf. If we're talking about getting guys back on the mat that were like former studs, Lance Palmer's in good shape to do so. So that'll be a fun match. Jason Nolf, Evan Wick. I think there's a really great matchup for both guys. I think Evan Wick has been so close, right? He was 3rd at NCAAs 2 different times. He's just coming off a Final X appearance, his best senior level season to date, and he has a shot to beat Jason Nolf. He gets a matchup with Jason Nolf, who It represents the biggest. It would be the biggest win of his career and the biggest name he's ever beaten. Oh, he did beat Chance one time, but and Nolf is coming back to wrestling, so to speak, after being in grappling. And so, where is Jason Nolf in his wrestling career? Where is he in his wrestling shape? Which is interesting because if he beats Wick, it's like, okay, Jason Nolf
Still right there.
just beat the number 2 guy in this year's trials, right?
Yeah.
After
and the
being
match and this match is at 79 kilos basically. It's at 175 pounds. So
yeah,
it's pretty true to 79 kilos if you're looking at it from a from a standpoint of worlds and all that.
right. And that's what I was saying about guys making their actual fighting weight. Like Wick's wrestling at his natural weight, the weight he just wrestled Fine Lex at. Women's strawweight 120. Sarah Hildebrand against Zelton Hernandez. Now, credentials wise, Zelton is a real good up and comer. One of the top girls in the Pan Ams at the weight. Now, credentials wise, there's no comparison. Sarah's among the most credentialed active wrestlers on the planet in any style. But where is she at? Where has she been at in her training? She wins the Olympics. She takes bronze at the Olympics, then she wins the Olympics. Is she at the top of her game? And so I think it's a good match for Sarah to come back. Number one, make an appearance, right? She's fresh off a gold medal. A lot of girls look up to her. It's good to have her back on the mat. And it's not, her Olympic finals opponent where just getting back on the mat, she's going to go through a war, right?
Yeah.
I think it's a good match.
And she retired in February, so, when she took the job with USA Wrestling. So it hasn't been that long. She's obviously still got it, but, what kind of shape can she get into for this? It's going to be exciting to watch. Good to see her on the card.
A lot of questions in the chat. I'll get to you in a second. All right, next match. Next match is Real Woods versus Darian Caldwell, 145 pounds for the featherweight title. Real is our number 1 guy in America. What Darian brings, I don't know. What I do know is that the dude's hella athletic. He's crazy good when he's on top of his game. He, like Lance, is long in the tooth. I really don't know what to expect. Real has very much developed into a world-class wrestler. And I think it'll be too much for Darian to come out with a win. I guess what I'm looking for out of Darian is moments. Can he flash a little bit of, okay, he still got some stuff. But Real's discipline, I think, will be the difference. And so I could see something in this like a 7-4 bout. Or it could get ugly because Darian really opens up, right?
Yeah.
So that's the way I see that one. But it's great to have Darian Caldwell back on the mat. Kyle Dake, Dean Hamidi. I absolutely love the matchup. This is cruiserweight, 190 pounds, so just off a true 86 kilogram bout. And you have Dean Hamidi, who just came through Keegan O'Toole and Levi Haynes to win his first title. And he's rising up in weight a bunch, right? 65 2 years ago. But I think he has the size and the frame and the athleticism to be a good 86er. And it's probably what he'll have to wrestle in a couple years. Even if you're at 79 for a while, you're probably going to have to go 86. for LA. And so, just like he's kind of in the same mold as Dake, where he's not a full 86, but you got to go 86, and Dean's going to have to go 86. So now we have this young buck, up and comer in Dean against this old veteran like Kyle Dake, and I think it's a fantastic match. Originally it was Dake against Aiden Sinclair, same thing. Aiden Sinclair, very good freestyle credentials, but very young. Dean, also very young against this veteran. So, great match. Kennedy Blades against Alejandra Rivera. Kennedy's Kennedy, silver medalist, Olympic finalist before her 21st birthday. Incredibly talented, and she'll probably hit some sort of highlight reel move. But Alejandra's a really she's wrestled beach. She's wrestled a lot of different stuff, and she presents an interesting matchup. And again, in context, just like we were talking about Sarah, it's good for Kennedy. She's going to Worlds in 2 weeks, right? So it's a good match to get under her belt. Get a 6-minute match under her belt before the World Championships. Bo Nickel, Jacob Cardenas. This is one that a lot of people are circling as upset potential. What do you think, Justin? I mean, Bo is up at 205. Cardenas is going to be a big boy. And Bo isn't going to be small, but he certainly fights at a much lesser weight. Now, he did wrestle 97 his last year. And Bo is, hasn't been wrestling like he normally does, but Bo's Bo. And Cardenas is in full wrestling mode. The only American that's ever won 3 medals at U23s. What do you make of this matchup?
Yeah, you can almost make the argument for either guy, because you got Cardenas coming off a tough NCAA season, and Jacob Cardenas is one of those guys that is always fun to watch, and he's always bringing it. Bo Nickel, same thing. Like, Bo hasn't been wrestling in years, but Bo is so damn good, and Bo's not much like Lance Palmer. Bo's not exactly only in New Mexico hunting. Like, Bo's training. Yeah. Bo owns an MMA gym. He's in the Penn State room. Like, he's still training. So I think Bo is just so damn good that I think it would have to be somebody who, I don't know if Jacob Cardenas, for example, is ready to be a medal threat yet at the world level. And I think Bo is of that caliber that you almost got to be a world medal threat or contender, even where Bo is now, where he hasn't been wrestling too much. I just think Bo, 3-time NCAA champ, one of the greatest ever. Like,
4-time finalist.
Yeah. So I think Bo gets it done.
Bo, U23 gold medalist. Cardenas, 3-time U23 medalist. Nice matchup. Wyatt Hendrickson is in the finale. Wyatt Hendrickson against Mustafa Elders, a guy out of Egypt. He was an Olympian in freestyle for Paris. Also won Farrell in Greco. And I think it's good for Wyatt, like Kennedy. I think it's really good for Wyatt to get an international 6-minute match under his belt before going to Worlds. As we have talked about on the show previously, the proximity to Worlds was a concern for a lot of guys. And a lot of guys I get. I don't buy wholesale into the don't wrestle because you might get hurt thing, because I think getting hurt in a match is sort of a freak thing. You go through 1.5-hour practices once or twice a day for 6 months. You're more likely to get injured then than in a 6-minute match. However, I get it. But for Wyatt, I think it does make sense because he hasn't been in an international match in a while. Get in there, get the feel. There's something different about live competition against a foreign opponent versus Final X versus U.S. Open versus training in the Cowboy RTC. So I think it's a good thing for Wyatt.
Yeah, I agree. Now, because you're involved, can you give picks or can you not?
I can give picks. Why not?
You want me to run through all 10 real quick and give my picks?
To give your picks?
Well, I'll give mine and then you can give yours.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, I'm going to go with Ramos. I'm going with the young gun
Ooh.
with Ramos. I think you have the young, hungry guy who, some of these international guys, like Ramos, can be wrestling for the Philippines, and he's not in that kind of gauntlet that USA wrestling is at times. So I feel like he's just going to be ready to go. Ramos always lets it fly. As you've used the term a few times now, long in the tooth. NATO's not that old, but he also hasn't been able to break through. So give me Ramos to start things off. Yanni over Bajrang, almost next topic. I think Yanni has kind of figured out, how to beat Bajrang. And I think he's already beaten him twice. That Beat the Streets match between Yanni and Bajrang was a thriller. I think there'll be another one. Austin Gomez has been on an absolute tear. Like he's knocking guys from the U.S. out of qualifiers for the Olympics. Like Gomez is good. And so I think Gomez takes out Palmer here, but I think it'll be a fun one. Nolf, similar argument to Bo. Like Nolf's one of those guys that I feel like retired too early. I mean, he took out Jordan Burroughs and then he was right there with Kyle Dake. So give me Nolf over Wick. Give me Hildebrandt. I'm going to go Real Woods over Caldwell. I'm going to take Dake over Hamidi. I'm going to take Kennedy Blades. I'm going to take Bo. And I think Wyatt gets it done. Wyatt in the finale kind of reminds me of March a little bit. Give me Wyatt.
Yeah. I'm going to go Tomasello for this reason. I think Ramos is a 57 kilogram guy and like a real 57 kilogram guy.
Yeah.
Now, if he beats NATO, that's a big notch in his belt and a big sign. Now, right, NATO hasn't been the guy, but he's been right up there. And I think he's been wrestling 61 for a long time, whereas Ramos, for him, he's going to be a 57 guy. So I'm going to take NATO, but I'm going to say there's a big opportunity for Matt Ramos.
Yeah, NATO winning wouldn't surprise me at all.
Matt Ramos to say, I'm here, I'm good, I'm going to be a factor at 57. I can beat some pretty solid 61s.
Yeah.
I will take Yanni. Yanni beat him when they were both sort of in their prime-ish. And he has figured Bajrang out a little bit. Yanni beat Bajrang when Bajrang was a step above him, technically. Yeah. And then when they were both sort of even, Yanni beat him again. And now, by all outward signs, Bajrang hasn't been as active, and Yanni has been. So all signs point to Yanni, but I think it could have the potential to be exciting. Palmer, Gomez, I'll take Gomez, but I think it might be interesting. I think Lance can do some things. He's
Lance can, but I feel like you gotta, when you've been away from wrestling specifically for so long, only focusing on MMA. I do feel like with the success Gomez and how he's been wrestling, that Lance can make it a match, but he's got to prove himself in that arena.
I also wonder. We often see wrestlers go to MMA, but they very rarely come back to wrestling. And this was alluded to by somebody in the chat and saying MMA MMA fitness level or MMA gas tank is not the same as wrestling gas tank. I, I wonder if that is true, and I wonder if that plays any bearing. Um, I wonder if Lance has 6 hard minutes in him.
Yeah. No, 100%.
Nolf, I feel like it's a little disrespectful to like pick Nolf to be this year's America number 2 when Nolf, and it's not up a weight. This is actual 79 kilograms. But Nolf's so damn good. Like it sounds a little disrespectful to pick America's number 2 guy at the senior level to lose to a guy who hasn't wrestled like real wrestling in quite a while. But you can't unsee what you've seen in Jason Nolf.
The only guy to beat Nolf, I believe, in the last like 3 years is Dake, right?
Right.
Dake beat him at the Olympic trials in 24, and he beat him at the World Team Trials in 2023. I mean, does Nolf have any other losses? Like, other than Dake?
I don't think so.
So, I mean,
Hildebrandt over Zeltsin, I think, like, but I'm a little concerned. I don't know how hard, frankly, and she deserves it. She deserves it. I don't frankly know how hard Sarah's been training. Now, she's still a level above Zeltsin, but that's something to watch out for. Real, I'm taking Real. He's America's number 1. And not only that, he has really competed well internationally. So I just think Real right now is just world class. Dake and Hamidi, man, I'm going to take Dake. But we're going to learn a lot about Hamidi, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I learned not to pick against Kyle Dake the hard way, you know. I think I picked Taylor every time, but yeah, I think we learn a lot about Dean, who's just getting started. I mean, it's kind of crazy to think, you know, Kyle Dake is where he is at in his career, and Dean like literally just graduated college, and a young one at that. No red shirts, no high, you know, junior high red shirts. Dean's really young, and he could play a big part if he fills out, and he has the frame to do it. Dude's enormous. He could be a big part of the 86 picture for the next quad. Kennedy all day. Nickel Cardenas. The size thing gets me in this one, but I think Cardenas will be hard for Bo to move around. But I'll take Bo to win some scrambles. That's how I think this match plays out. Bo typically, like, he wrestles a style that for some reason typically like ends up in big moves and big throws and stuff. And I don't like that in this matchup because Cardenas is so enormous. But at the same time, Bo's a guy who won 97. I don't know. Take Bo, and I'll take Wyatt.
Those are our official picks. It is on Fox Nation, the streaming platform. I think it's like $7 for the month. So get that. Do you want to answer a couple cues from the chat?
Let's go through the chat. Can we watch without subscribing to Fox Nation? No, it's like $7, bro. How many weight classes are there? There's 8. 35, 45, 55, 65, 75, 90, 205, unlimited. Willie, call Palmer Gomez the number 1 contender bout? Yep, pretty much. Derek Billman, I hope RAF not drug testing. That's basically USADA's call, I believe. So yeah, but also there's going to be an announcement. Put up your antennas right now, guys. There's going to be an announcement today, I believe, going out about future RAF stuff, and certainly location and date for the card too, and I believe the first matchup on that card. Why did Sinclair pull out? Because there were questions about start date of college and where that line was for college eligibility, and nobody wanted to chance it, and I get it. I believe if classes start, it depends on class start date, and there was some fuzziness, so they just erred on the side of caution. Dean is built like David was. Yes, he is. Wrestle Madness trying to get RAF shout outs. No such luck. Wrestle Madness started a pick'em contest, which is awesome. Love me some Kiski area, yeah. Mario Hutcherson, Fargo champ, also home to my fantasy league teammate, McMuffin, Penn State stud. Larry Steele, I feel like y'all are looking over the argument you made about the development of wrestling when looking at the Pico Duke match, as opposed to these older legends. Wrestling has evolved for them too. True. You take a older veteran like Lance Palmer, and yeah, he was good in his day, but good in your day versus good now, the good now might be a little bit better because wrestling has evolved. That's a fair point. I'm taking Cardenas by decision. What happened with Brooks Zilmer? I don't know, but Brooks didn't want to go. Zilmer was a possibility. He was never in. Brooks was like kind of in, like he was pretty much done, but then wanted to wait till the next card. Will you cover the results of other leagues such as Claw? We mentioned it earlier. We'll cover the results of Claw if they're big matchups. You know, if they have two, like, anytime there's a, I don't care if it's in the Russian league, whatever. We will cover, me and Justin will cover anything that's significant, but we're not going to cover a match on Claw or whatever they are just to cover it.
Amen.
Saturday Night Lights, get me some RAF tickets and I'm there. Come up, bud. Come through. I got you.
Also, one final note before we get on with our day. I gotta get home and get this brisket off soon. It's at 2:01. A Gable Steveson note. Gable backed out. I guess he has a toe injury. He's out of the Craig Jones grappling super match. That I believe was this weekend. And also, it was announced that he is taking his first MMA fight. So I would say that's like he's making his MMA debut September 12th at LFA 217 in Minnesota. So I'd say the door is looking more and more shut for wrestling. You know, now he's officially making his MMA debut. I had said for months I thought that was coming. So
I would be scared to death. I would be
Gable.
Scared to if I was a wrestler, I would be scared to death. Like Bo's done it, Nolf's done it. I'll tell you what, the reason that Who's Number One started was because of a guy named Michael Pixley, and that was the impetus behind me starting that. We had to figure out who was number one in the country. There was a big debate. They never hit. They were never at the same tournament. Johnny Sebastian and Michael Pixley. And Michael Pixley won Fargo twice. and we did the Who's Number One card. Johnny Sebastian won, and Pixley like kind of bounced around colleges to start. Never really got his college career going. He's on that Craig Jones Invitational card. He was on that Craig Jones event before and like shocked the world in grappling. So we have seen wrestlers do it, Nolf, Nickel. But I would be scared to death as a wrestler to do high level grappling like that. One false move, you don't feel something come. You wrestle 1,000 times. I'm sure Gable wrestled 1,000 times in the room, and Nolf wrestled 1,000 times in the room, and once in a blue moon, somebody got him in a takedown, right?
Yep.
Somebody gets something once in a blue moon in grappling, and they can tear your ACL. They can pop your Achilles. They can ruin your shoulder. And they have that feel. They know what to look for, and you don't have that feel yet. I would be scared to death. And in grappling, in MMA, you know that threat is there, but you can also punch them in the face, right? Like if somebody has my ankle, I can also punch them in the face, and it disrupts some stuff. In grappling, he has my ankle. He's going for a heel hook. I can't physically assault him to stop him from doing so. I have to do it with technique that I am just learning or haven't learned yet. And so, man, I mean, hats off to these guys that do it. But that's one thing. I wouldn't be like, you want to fight? You want to punch each other? Okay. I'm okay with that. Somebody my size.
Yeah.
You doing things like you're going to rip my arm off, and I have never felt that before? No, pass. So, yeah, I don't know exactly where Gable was at, but that scared me when I heard it was announced. It was like, you want to mess with Craig Jones, bro? That's crazy to me.
Yeah. All right. What else you got? Anything? Any final thoughts?
I got nothing. Like I said, I'm getting in a meeting here in a little bit with National Collegiate Duels, stuff about seeding, not seeding itself. Like I'm not talking about today we're seeding the tournament. I'm talking about we're having a meeting to talk about what we should base the seeds on.
And Willie and I will do a full breakdown on that next week when we also break down the results from RAF 01.
Yeah, Terry McLaurin side. Go Bills.
Congrats. Go Bills. Like and subscribe.